Juggalos in recovery. Juggalos in recovery. Juggalos in recovery. So kind of the story I had today I was going to go through is tailored around like how people find recovery or find like AA. So my particular story was my first time I got a DUI was kind of like the first indicator that my shit was going downhill and I was hitting like my bottom. But like, there was stuff leading up to that, but that was kind of like the official like sign, I guess. And I didn't know anything about AA or recovery at all. And I went into a local AA meeting, and it was not the best experience in the world that I had. People were fighting and trying to get me to join their church and stuff. So it was really a weird experience. And then I went on with my life and left that and figured maybe, I don't have a problem. That was just kind of a one-off. And then I moved to a new city and got my second DUI, where I found myself in, jail. My family left me. Like it was a horrible situation. And again, I didn't really know anything about AA or recovery at all, but I did know AA from my last experience and like what I've saw on TV, but I didn't know, where to start or where to like really look at the time. So I went and just did a Google search and found local AA meetings and went to the first one that I saw. It was like 7 a.m. And that's kind of how I went into recovery. And then I went and joined an inpatient facility as well that I found online. That was kind of expensive, but that's how I found recovery and found AA. Before that, though, I had no idea. So I guess the sharing that I would be looking for, if you're willing, is how you found your recovery spot. What was it? And like, did you know anything about it prior to joining? So any thoughts around that?
I guess how I feel. At first it truly wasn't a choice. I guess at first it ultimately truly wasn't a choice. Wasn't my choice. I was young. I was young. I was younger. I mean, I was started off. I'm trying to think back. Wow.
Right. Yeah, it's tough to think back, but
Yeah.
definitely have to remember kind of where you came from, That's for me, that's been super important, because the second I forget where I was when I first came in, like that's when I was at my lowest, So I don't know, but that's not the same for everybody. But I think a lot of people, when they go into recovery, they have to hit that rock bottom, So I guess like if you can remember when that bottom was and what you did to, go up from there.
I know I had put myself in mental hospital a couple times to help myself, and I know that hurt a little bit, but at the same time, it was also, I know it hurt, but at the same time, it was also helping. It got me, get me away from everything, get me away from either people, situations, environment, triggers, or anything like that. Or whether it be
Chris, what's up, man?
Shit, I'm just finally able to make a meeting.
Yeah, nice. I'm on live finally after like a 60-day ban or whatever it was. So that's cool.
Goddamn.
Until my next one, man, and then I'm fucked, but we'll see. So
Yeah, we know it's gonna happen again.
yeah, I do a meme page, and I try to be careful with my memes, but they get you on stupid shit every now and again. And
Yeah.
They got me.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about today, man, is like basically, how you found your way into recovery, or found your way to AA or whatever it was that got you sober. For me, it was I didn't know anything about AA really. I had a shitty experience my first time around, and the second time I went in, I just looked it up online. And I did AA with a combo of, an outpatient. It wasn't an inpatient; it was intensive outpatient. So I did a little bit of both, but I had no idea like where to even begin. Really, I just knew what I knew from like TV, and did some Google searches and stuff. So,
Right. For me, uh, I ended up getting sober by myself. So the whole idea came down to when I was at my worst, I was buying whatever I could get my hands on. And one day, my dealer gave me this pill. He didn't tell me exactly what it was. Turned out it was fucking methadone. And he had basically given me instructions to essentially cause an overdose. And once I had figured out what it was after, looking it up on the internet, I decided that, nobody had my best interests at heart. And I was going way too hard, way too quick. So I spent the next 3 weeks basically isolating myself on a deserted island and really reflecting on why I kept going back to these things and what that motivation was. Really just trying to get down to the core of why I was the way I was, why I was constantly looking for an escape, why I was doing all of these things that I already knew were so bad for me. And that's what led me to where I am now.
nice, yeah, that's interesting. A lot of people get sober in their own ways, right? So it's like you did it on your own, which is actually really awesome, man, and commendable for sure, because that's hard for people to do. I think I kind of have a little bit of that now where I do a lot of my own thing. I do my weekly AA meeting where I go to a meeting and it's kind of my home group. So just a bunch of people I've known for the 5 years that I'm coming up on being sober. So, but I think I do my own thing. I don't have a sponsor. Like I don't call somebody like when I have troubles and stuff. I probably should sometimes, but yeah. So yeah, everybody has their own way, right? I mean, some people are religious about their meetings. They have to go to meetings every day still, and and that's great. Whatever keeps you sober, right? So,
I mean,
but
we all have our own path to get to where we need to go. It's just all about how we did it. For me, I didn't have access to 12 steps. I was mad young. I wasn't driving by the time that I decided to get sober. So even if I would have wanted to go to meetings, this was still early internet days. There were no online meetings. There wasn't a actual sobriety meeting within 30 miles of where I was. So even if I was that determined that I would have tried to walk to a place, I would have been walking for days at a time just trying to get to a meeting. And it wasn't in the cards for me. Everybody
right,
does it the same way, but you know, the things that actually work are all the same, regardless of how you do it. It's
right,
all about reflecting on self, finding that motivation, and moving forward.
right. Josie, what's up? How are you?
Blah.
Yeah,
I don't know. Confused, lost, walking around in circles, getting bored, being in my own four walls at times.
yeah. That sounds like a lot like me. So you're in the right place.
Yeah, well, I live in an
Bored and
apartment
walking.
building, which is not fun because there's too many noises and banging, and it's energy efficient. So it's not fun because it confuses the brain and the lights are too damn bright.
Oh, interesting. Well, what we're talking about is just how you found your way into sobriety, how you may have found like AA or the like. Um, I found AA, which kind of got me into it. Then I went into an intensive. Chris was saying that he, kind of did it on his own because back then it was tough. And then King was telling, he was, and if you want to like pick up where you left off, King, where you were, you had joined you had involuntarily went into some, mental institutions and whatnot. You were saying, I think that's where you left off. So, if you want to expand on that, that's cool.
Yeah, I put myself in some voluntarily and involuntarily. That usually ends up happening.
Right.
Um, but I did that a lot of the times, sometimes, and that helped me. And I also ended up in rehab up in Vermont one time. That was a while back, and that helped me as well. But I think how I found in the beginning, like meetings and all that, AA and NA and all that, like recovery and getting clean and all that was. I don't know if I was completely at my worst, but I was getting out. I think I was getting out of a lockup or something like that one time, and I think I was about to hit the streets and like hit dope again and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I thought of like what like a lot of my buddies instead and all that, and they used to go to meetings and stuff like that, and I heard about that and walk up. They used to talk about that because they used to have meetings there, and so I tried it, and I thought, hey, I'll give it a shot. I'll stick with it for a little bit, give it a shot, and stuck with it and stuck with it.
Yeah, the meetings and lockups an interesting scenario, and I wonder how, because they do the volunteer groups. I've always wanted to go volunteer and kind of see how that goes, because I'm sure there's a lot of like people who want to get sober that are locked up, or it's forced and they just do it to like get out of like sitting in their cell. You know what I mean? So it'd be interesting to go see how that goes down. And in there, I've met a lot of people that have went into a meeting and inside lockup and actually got sober, which I think that goes along with like getting sober on your own, man. That's really difficult. Like, I'm sure, because you're locked up in there, and people think like jail's like a drug-free place or whatever, and it's absolutely not. Like,
No, it's not. It's not.
no. We just had a recent. I live in a really small area by Canada, by Vancouver, and we just had like a news story where a bunch of people OD'd in our local jail, and people were like, "Well, how do they get drugs in there?" Well, it happens. They get it in there. You don't get sober in jail. Like, the temptation's there, and it's still there. It's maybe not as, it costs you a little bit more, and it's not readily available, but it's there. But Josie, how'd you find your way to sobriety? What was your kind of, I don't know, where'd you start?
Homies in my family and talking with my mom and talking with other people in my family and them dragging my ass to meetings and sitting in the back and being scared shitless because I didn't
So you
have
were,
a problem at all. It was kind of, I was born into it, and a lot of people that I know in my family recovered. So I was kind of like a child in the back of the room.
gotcha, yeah. Um, that's another interesting like point of view, because I brought my son with me to a few meetings, not a lot, but where I couldn't have like anybody watch him. I brought him into some meetings, and they both use like weed and alcohol. They're teenagers and whatnot. Both my kids do. So, but like maybe one day they'll end up in there because they'll know where to go. Like, I didn't know where to go necessarily. Like I said, it was all shit that I heard on TV, and I did Google searches and whatnot. And the other kind of interesting thing is, back in the day, like I sit in these AA meetings and they go into, back in the day, like before internet, like, whatever it came out, the 30s and 40s or whatever, like they found meetings somehow and they found people to work with. I think that's fucking amazing, especially back then. Now it's easy. I did a Google search and I found like 4 or 5 in my area, and then when COVID hit, it's like online. Like, I can go right now to this link I have and find a meeting that's going on right now, and it'd be across all over the world. So I don't know. It's pretty amazing that anybody was able to find sobriety before the internet, but that's just my age. Like,
The phone
sure.
book. I remember being with my cousin and him looking up meetings in the damn phone book when we'd go on family vacations to be able to make sure he could hit one, which I thought was really cool. I didn't always understand it when I was younger, but he
Yeah,
still made it to him somehow.
Yeah, that's really wild to think about, like the level of drive you had to have prior to the internet. When you really think about like how accustomed we are to being able to have that instant gratification now, if that went away, I would be afraid that the majority of the people that have gotten comfortably sober would really struggle if the information wasn't as readily available.
right. Um, that's an interesting topic that you bring up too, Josie, about the hitting meetings on your vacations and stuff. So um I was lucky enough to take a trip last year to Hawaii, right? And I was going to look up meetings to go to there, but my thought process was, I'm doing fine and I didn't necessarily need one. If I needed one though, I knew I could find one, but like I went there to like get away from everything, right? And to like have a vacation, and I didn't really even think about drinking and using when I was there. Um so I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Like hitting up meetings on vacations and whatnot.
Everybody struggles in different ways.
Right.
Being in those super fun environments can be kind of triggering. Like the gathering is the greatest example. That's most people's giant vacation. And the whole theme of it for most people is we're going there specifically just to go get fucked up. So I understand why the desire is there. Imagine going to a cruise and every night there's nothing but booze everywhere you look and everybody's sloshed at all times. Having a meeting there would be almost necessary for the average recovering addict.
Right.
Like I don't personally need it at this point in time, but I've also been sober for over a decade at this point.
Mhm.
I've been through most scenarios without having that want or that need in that moment. So I've learned those coping mechanisms over those years to do it. But somebody that's relatively new, or even somebody that is worse off than I am, has that need. So I think they need to be available just about everywhere. And I understand why so many people have to hit them on a regular basis.
Right. No, I agree. And I think, yeah, thinking back to it, I would have went to a meeting if I felt the urge, because there was the thought there, like I'm sitting on this beautiful beach, right? And there's a fucking bar right over there. Like it would be a lovely thought to just, get a couple drinks and chill by the ocean, and so yeah, I definitely get that. What about you? You other two, what do you guys think? Any other thoughts on that or anything in general?
I was just gonna kind of go off of a little bit um time and place a little bit, kind of what he said a little bit. Uh,
Hmm.
Scenario situation a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, most of the time they're still always available. And that's what's great.
Yeah. And Josie sounds like she had some experience with that with a friend who would look it up where they would go.
I would
Where they,
say it's interesting, but in my area, I stay more online at this point because there's so many people that are scary and sketchy that I don't even want to do anything unless it's online, at least if I don't have someone else with me to go, just because I be so cautious around who I'm around because I have to be at this point.
right. I think it'd be cool. And I kind of wish now I would have went to one in Hawaii because I bet the scenery there's freaking amazing from a meeting. But like if I ever visit another country, and whatnot, I might make some time to go see how they do it there. Because I hear it's very similar. Obviously everybody's doing the same program when you go to an AA meeting and stuff. So I imagine it's all the same, but just like different perspectives from different countries would be super cool. Um, I try to join some of these online ones in other countries, but if they don't speak English, it's obviously impossible for me anyway to learn any, to hear anything. Maybe I'll try a little harder next time, but yeah, I think it'd be cool to see some of those other countries and how they do it because we're in America and we see America a certain way, and it might be cool to see something like that if I ever go on a vacation out of the country. So. But I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to this. Oh, go ahead.
I had a friend that went on a cruise and was able to go to meetings on a cruise ship, and that was kind of interesting. So, like, apparently on like cruise ships or those communal areas, they have them labeled as like meetings with Bill or friends of Bill
Yeah, friends of Bill.
to relate to the guy who did the AA thing.
Yeah,
I don't know. So I imagine like it would be really interesting to do that just because it'd be a different perspective than like a traditional home group because you know how those flow normally.
right. Yeah, I heard the cruise thing will have it'll be in the events section of like the brochure that you get when you're on a cruise, and it'll say friends of Bill, and yeah, so um, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the gathering if they have it this year. Everybody's tripping that they're probably not going to have it.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say I've heard a lot about not having it. What's going on? Why not?
everything's just kind of up in the air right now.
Right.
Everybody's dealing with a lot behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Joe's still probably grieving the loss of Lainey during Hollowicked. That shit takes a lot out of you. It may take him a while.
Right. Yeah. It'll save me a bunch of money in the end.
Yeah,
So
I might go on a real vacation instead of going to work.
Well, I heard there's still gonna be one anyways by a few people that are down in that area that want to throw one, even if there isn't one,
Right. Like there's going to
which
be
is
some
interesting.
form. There's always going to be some form of gathering. We might just have to take it back old school and just throw nothing but mini gatherings until
That
everybody's up
would,
and stable.
I think it would be fun. There should be a Juggalos in recovery one if there isn't a real one.
You know what? If there isn't a real one, I know enough people that I can get us in there.
that'd be dope.
That would be
If
sweet.
it's in my
Because it would be
area, if
safe.
it's the big, yeah, we'll make it. We'll make it happen, one way or the other. You know, that's what we're here for. We're here to provide that space for the people that need us.
Yep. So we're, plan for the future. My kid wants to go. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm cool with it. And either way, I'm gonna be sober throughout that bitch again and get that coin. That coin, man, I carry it in my wallet. That I've survived the gathering. These things are badass.
Yeah,
It gives me
I,
power.
I do. Those are so dope. Those are like one of my favorite coins because that is like
See,
a true challenge to people that have never been able to do it.
yeah, my first one, I
Yeah,
nailed it. Yeah, it was dope.
right. And it really is that like true sense of accomplishment because everywhere you look, there's that temptation if you're not ready for it.
So anybody that hasn't been like, it's fucking everywhere. Like there's dudes with signs. They're walking around. It's like
I've never
$5
been
hit.
to a gathering.
Never been.
Unfortunate.
Nope, he's never been. He's a virgin
She
to it.
hates me for it. She hates it.
Oh no.
Yo, dog, it happens literally every year. You
Yep.
can plan for it.
I have a jar that I just toss money into like throughout the year. And every time I get any cash, because I don't really use cash anyway, I just throw it in the fucking jar and I forget about it. And then me and my son, we hustle like during the summer, right before we like mow yards and shit around the neighborhood and like just get extra money, like clean people's cars and stuff. And um, it's possible to go. You just have to. I seriously have to pre-plan because I live near Vancouver, Canada, and the fucking plane ride is like almost across the country, right? So everything's expensive as shit, and it's like I can't drive because my car is kind of a piece of shit and probably wouldn't make it, and I don't want to deal with all that. So it's like, you
Oh,
know,
that means technically, sorry to
there
interrupt you.
you
You're close to us because of where we are, because we can basically almost get to the Canadian border. Not that hard.
go. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm like 20 minutes away from the Canadian border, and then like it's like an hour and a half to Vancouver, which is dope, but it's like in the middle of nowhere. I love it though. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
No, I feel it. Like, here's my perspective on the gathering. You can go there with a baller budget and have a great time. You can go there with no money and still have a great time. It's the hardest part about getting into a gathering is getting to the gathering. Everything else, it's all about your own desire. If you have to hustle, you have to hustle. If you got that cash up front, dope. You don't have to worry so hard. You know, I've done it on $1,000. I've done it on $200. You know, it's all about what you feel like if that's your priority.
Right.
You know, if your end goal is wanting to go to the gathering, don't make excuses and just show up there.
Yeah, see, that's what I told you. That's why I told you I would help figure it out and was trying to about figuring out a hustle to basically make sure we had the money at least for our tickets to get there. That's what I've been trying to explain to him, and everyone else has too, a little bit. Just need to figure out the ticket, and everything else can fall into place somehow.
Fuck you.
Yeah, dude, I've showed up to gatherings with no tickets and had nothing but a box of lighters in my pocket or in my backpack. Hustled 50 lighters into a ticket. Yeah, we've done it with popsicles before because it's fucking hot at the gathering. Go to the fucking local Walmart, go grab one of those big ass 100 packs of fucking those freeze pops. Go hustle them. $2 a piece. There's a whole ass ticket right there off of a $5 investment.
Yep.
You can hustle whatever the fuck you want and make it happen. It's all about your own desire. If you really say you want to go, don't make excuses. Just make it happen. Because one way or the other, if your desire is there, if your drive is there, you can do it. It's just like getting sober. If your desire is to be sober, you can do it.
There's like literally like a secret tunnel last year. They just opened up the fence and everybody was going in and out this fucking tunnel. You know what I mean? And so you didn't have to show your wristband or anything. You just, if you just get in and just chill, you'd be all right for the few days. Bring a tent and stuff, but because it
Yeah.
fucking rained last year, poured like buckets on everybody last year. But
Like you don't even really need to have a tent. You don't need to have anything. You
true.
just need to be able to get there. I've seen mad people just sleeping in the seminar tent.
Yep.
We see that every year.
That's
I know mad
that's
people that have
weird.
I've run into people that have never bought a gathering ticket in their life and have snuck in for 20 plus years.
Yep.
You know, if that is your actual desire to go and you're broke, just figure out how to get there. I've seen people walk from Virginia State to Ohio just to go to the gathering because they didn't have money to buy a bus ticket. And they still made it inside the gates because that's what they truly, truly wanted.
Yep.
That would be a long ass walk and does not seem fun for us.
It was the
Yeah,
dude
no.
said it was a 3-week walk.
No shit.
Damn.
It just really goes to show you, like, if you've got that desire, you've got that determination. if that is what you really, really want, you can make it happen. You just actually have to want it that bad.
Yeah. All right. This is my internet's failing on me, so I'm gonna stop the recording here, and then we can just kind of BS. There we go.